Welcome back to part 2 of Snowman Put Together, and we ended up doing a classic tween of the hat going from the snow to the head, and what we're going to do now is control that, and we put stop actions in so that it won't do anything until we control it. Now, one of the questions you might have is, well, where do I do those actions? Now, for one thing, we're going to click on this hat, but we're not actually going to click it here because this is actually the graphic symbol. Where we're actually going to click on the hat and make it move is going to be, we're going to go one level back, and it's actually going to be this hat, which is actually the hat moving clip. And the hat, what we're going to do is we're going to click on the hat moving clip and say play, and it's going to play its own timeline, and its timeline is this. So we're going to make this thing do that when we click on it, but we're not going to do that here because this is just the graphic symbol. We're going to go back one level out, and we're still going to be inside the snowman, but we're going to click on the hat and tell it to move up there. So one of the things we'll need here is we're going to need a, and I'll just go back to my arrows so it doesn't have the transform handles. We already have the instance name here, which is good. We're going to need that, and then we can start writing our code. And basically what we're going to really be doing is just telling the hat to play. That's all we're really going to be doing. We're going to be treating the hat almost like a button. So we're going to go right in here to our code, and well, actually before we do that, we're going to make a actions layer above here, and it'll be above all these elements, and we can include all our actions for all of these elements here. We're just going to do the one right now, but I'm going to put actions up here, and I'm going to go onto this keyframe, and I'm going to open up my actions palette. And what I'm going to do first thing, sometimes the easiest thing to do is just type your instance name that you're going to be clicking on. So I'm going to type hat_MC, and I'll hit dot, and when you do dot, it should open up the little code hinting so that you can click on Add Event Listener. And then once you do the Add Event Listener, it's going to be a mouse event. Even though it's not a mouse, it's a movie clip, but it's going to act like a mouse. So we're going to do mouse event. Remember the capital M and capital E, it should show up in blue. And then I'm going to do a dot, and then this thing comes up again, and it's actually going to be click. We have to scroll down to find click, and it's capital letters click. We're all caps. And then we're going to do a comma, and then we're going to put the function name. Now each thing that happens is going to have its own function name. So I'm just going to call it hat moving. Or how about hat move? That'll be fine. I can call it whatever I want, just as long as I'm consistent. So each, eyes move, they should all kind of be the same way. Mouth move, I should be consistent in the way I write the functions. That way it'll be easier to, when I have multiple ones and I copy and paste them and have to change them. So I'm going to finish off this parentheses and do a semicolon, and that's the end of my listener. And next, what's coming up, I'm going to hit 2 returns, and now I have to do the function. So I'm going to type function, and then hat move. It should be exactly as it is here. If you're not sure, then just copy and paste it here. And then another parentheses, we're just going to do E. We can do event, EVT, or E. And we're just going to do event or mouse event. We could scroll down here and look for mouse event, or you could start typing the M. We'll finally get there. There's a mouse event. We can do event or mouse event. And then we just finish that off, and we're going to do a colon, and then just void. And we're not done yet. Then we have to do the brackets. That's actually where the function goes into, and I'll hit a return, and you can see it puts the second bracket in there, which is good. Every function should have 2 curly brackets or pairs of brackets. Sometimes there'll be brackets inside of brackets, but just for now. Now this action is going to be fairly simple. All that it's going to do, it's basically going to play the play method, which is just play with parentheses and a semicolon. So it's basically going to be this, play, open and closing parens, and a semicolon. Except, right now, we're not telling what to play. We have to be more specific. That's why we're going to use this thing again, the hat MC dot. We're going to just copy that and put it here. Because what we want to play is we want to play the timeline of the hat MC. Because if we just said play, it would actually just try to play this timeline, which really wouldn't do anything. So if you want a timeline of something else to play, you have to be specific and put its instance name. So I'll go back here, and it's going to play hatmc.play, and that's what it should do. And what should happen is it should play through and then stop at the end. And then if you click it again, it should probably go back to the beginning. So let's try this out. I'm going to test it. And I'm going to click on the hat, and there it goes. And if I click on the hat again, it goes back down. Now, it doesn't go backwards, it just goes back to the first frame where it's on the ground. That's why it happens so fast. It goes up slow with the tween, but when you click on it again, it doesn't do any more tweening. It just jumps to the first frame where it was on the ground, which is fine. So it almost gives a little start over kind of thing. The only thing missing here is that when I roll over it, it doesn't really identify itself as something to click on, like a mouse, like a button would. So I want to make sure that I can actually use something called button mode for a movie clip. And that's fairly easy to do. I can go back up here into my actions, and before all of this, and I would have to do this for every element that I want to actually have act like a button. So for eyes, nose, mouth, all those arms, all those other things, we'd have to do this. But what we could do is, and I think I could still paste this, hat MC dot, and I think it's something called button mode. I think that's correct, and then I think it's equals true. I'm not sure without looking that up, but we'll see if that works. I'll hit save, and I'll test it out. Command return, and that works. You can see I have the little link finger there. That gives me some feedback. So it treats it like a button is what that button mode does. And I'm going to click that. And there's sometimes you could even turn that off so that if you have a button but you don't want it to act like a button, you could have it just have an arrow on it. So you might not always want that. So I'll click on that again. It's acting like a button sort of, and it's playing. So that's pretty much how it works. Everything that we would do inside the snowman. So if I wanted to do, well, we are inside the snowman. But everything I would do now, if I wanted to do anything else, the hat's already finished. If I was going to do the eyes or the arm or anything, I would go through that process. I'd select everything on the right arm layer. I'd convert it to a symbol. I'd go modify, convert to symbol. I'd make it a graphic first. You don't have to, but it helps. And I'll just call it right arm. And then I convert it to a symbol again. I go modify, convert to symbol, and I'll call it right arm moving. That way I know this is going to be the timeline where it's actually moving. And I'd hit OK. And then, because there's a symbol inside a symbol, I'll be able to do the tween once I go inside the right arm moving. So I'll go inside here. I'll do this real quick because this won't take long at all. I'll do an F6. I'll go back to the first keyframe and move it down to where I want it to start, maybe like somewhere over here, like leaning against the side. And I'll have to make an actions layer. I don't have to, but it's a good thing to do. I'll put actions up here, and remember we have to put a keyframe at the end so that it stops at the end, and we need to put an stop action there. That's why we need the keyframe. So I'm going to go in here and do a stop, semicolon. I'll just copy it, and then I'll go back to the first keyframe, open this up, and paste it. That way we have a stop on each one. And remember, when you start working with these actions, if you don't need to, they're going to show up down here. They'll show you where inside snowman there's actions on frame 1 of the snowman. These are the stop actions that's inside hat and inside here. And actually, I did this completely wrong. I didn't want to do any of this inside the right arm moving. Wait a minute, what did I do here? Oh, I know what I did. This is okay. Actually, it's good to see this happen. We would have problems here because you see this as a graphic symbol, and then I forgot to change it to a movie clip for the second time. Now you might say, well, wow, you're going to have to do all that over. No, actually I don't, but what I could do is if I go back to Snowman, you see how this is actually coming up as a graphic symbol? I can actually change it up here temporarily to a movie clip, and it'll act like a movie clip. And I'll just call it right arm underscore MC. And if I wanted to, I could go back to the library too, because I don't want that to be a graphic symbol in here either. I could go up here and I could right click and do properties, and I could change it back here. So that you can change that back if you kind of screwed that up. So I want to make sure that's a movie clip, but you could change it on stage and you could change the original too. So anyway, what I'd want to do is now that I have this, I could go back up to my actions, and everything I could do, I could copy and paste. I could copy and paste this thing and make it be right arm, button mode equals true, and then I could copy, let me make this so you could see it a little bit better. and you could put all the listeners all together, or you could do listener function, however you want. I'm going to do listener function in this case, and I'll hit a double return. Now instead of hat MC, I'm going to do right arm MC, and this is where you could just copy and paste stuff. Right arm MC, paste it, paste it. What else do we want to change? We want to change the function name. So this would be, I could just say, right arm, copy, just right arm move. And that'll be my function name, right arm move. So different function, or different function name, different movie clip that we're using for the listener, and everything should work. If I do return, we should be able to move this. There's that, and there's the arm. It's not moving. Oh, there it is. What did I forget? See, I'm rushing through this. Let me go in here and double click. Oh, I never did the tween. Classic tween. There we go. That should move it right into place. Let me test it one more time. There it goes. When I click it, it should go back. There's the hat. There's the arm, and all the other ones would go like that. And just take your time. I kind of rushed through it, but make sure you take your time with that.